Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. Let's talk about the chaos which is unfolding in the MK party, the Umkhonto weSizwe party. Yesterday, letters were leaking left, right, and center. It was a TKZ fiasco, I tell you. And they painted a negative picture about the MK party parliamentary caucus, about Nhlamulo Ndlela, the spokesperson of the party, and Jacob Zuma, the daughter of the leader of the party and a member of parliament. Once your letters are flying all over the place as a political party, the public will have to do an evaluation of his piti-piti. We'll have to evaluate piti-piti. There's no other way. Do you remember the famous moment in 2017 when the piti-piti evaluator moment happened? Do you remember?
How do you evaluate? And you evaluate a person? I think it's an impossible demand. As you say, if you talk about evaluation, you evaluate something that has happened. So why should I? That's demanding too much of the president. Because what is it that you are going to evaluate? So I don't understand, why do you think this president must then evaluate? As soon as there is a piti-piti, then you evaluate. Evaluate is piti-piti. It can't be. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
So the MK party is the third largest party in South Africa. They have got 2.3 million voters who are hoping on them to represent their interests and deliver on their manifesto in one way or another as the official opposition within the National Assembly. So they matter, and we have to evaluate this piti-piti that's going there and going on there. So before we go there, though, there's another piti-piti, a piti-piti which I've been talking to you about, which you need to be updated on before we quazza them Konto topic. Let's talk about Donald Trump and whether or not he'll be deporting Elon Musk. That relationship between those two men is clearly running on fumes. Yesterday, Donald Trump posted this on his social media platform. Elon Musk knew long before he so strongly endorsed me for president that I was strongly against the EV mandate. It's ridiculous and was always a major part of my campaign. Electric cars are fine, but not everyone should be forced to own one. Elon may get more subsidy than any human being in history by far, and without subsidies, Elon would probably have to close up shop and head back home to South Africa. Back to South Africa. They're reminding him, no more rocket launches, satellites, or electric car production, and our country would save a fortune. Perhaps we should have Doge take a good, hard look at this. Big money to be saved. Trump is not happy with Elon because Elon has been questioning the big and beautiful bill. And really, Trump is a character. Donald Trump is now creating a category for one man, a reverse refugee. Right? While the 49 Afrikaners are becoming Amerikaners, the world's richest man will be becoming an American. Do you understand? He'll be becoming an American. At this point, there's the MAGA movement, right? The Make America Great Again movement. And then there's the MIAGA movement, Make Elon African Again. And it's part of the MAGA movement. So we're seeing a lot from Trump. At a political level, the political lesson is that when you're working in a patriarchal party of this kind of nature, right, a patrimonial party of this nature, you have to sustain the right levels of loyalty to the principles. And what we're seeing is that Elon Musk has not necessarily been viewed by people to be MAGA enough and to be loyal to Trump enough. And as a result of that, his relationship is deteriorating with Trump. These type of political leaders value loyalty over everything, and that's why they surround themselves with people who are from the family and people who they view as being trustworthy. The economic lesson for us all is that big business very often needs government support and works with government, right? The difference between Elon Musk and Edwin Sodi, the Hoshkare father, is that while both men got government contracts, only one of them delivered what he was meant to do. The only difference between Elon Musk and Edwin Sodi, in a sense, is that he actually delivered the rockets and the satellites as advertised, the electric cars as advertised. That's why we don't judge him for his Hosh Karmaimas and him trying to compete with Nick Cannon and Father Abraham, who had many sons. Father Abraham had many sons, and Elon Musk wants to break the record. So Elon, really, if you look at his personal life, it's a lot of hosh curry behavior that happens there. But he's not stealing the money, he's delivering. But he is a tenderpreneur, and that's a economic lesson. When people are talking about BEE and all of these things, we must remember that fundamentally a lot of the globally big businesses did benefit from their relationships with government, from government contracts, from government subsidies. And part of the role of the state is to actually facilitate the successes of their local business and to actually create new industries and to break concentrated sectors and allow new players. So in South Africa, sometimes they make us have a discussion which makes it seem as if the state has no role to play. Private sector is, manna from heaven and can solve and save everything. While the same people who are having those conversations know that they're getting massive support from the government and actually are operating with government contracts. All of these big companies, they know what kind of relationships they have with government. The only issue in South Africa is, of course, is that the tenderpreneurs don't often deliver except to their Hosh Karimaimas. That's who gets service delivery, not the people who gave them the contracts, and that's the issue. I think that Elon Musk is making a huge mistake with this public challenge of Donald Trump and his big, beautiful bill. He's making Trump consider retaliation, and he's making Republicans more broadly start preparing for ways to deal with him. Because Republicans are looking at this guy who's saying, I'm going to be around for 40 more years. And they may be thinking, how can we investigate this guy? How can we take down his empire? Between power and money, money will always bend the knee to power. That's the reality. And locally, from the South African perspective, as long as Trump is at odds with Elon Musk, South Africa doesn't need to panic about pressure from Trump for the Starlink deal. Elon has actually lost a large part of his leverage. And I mentioned this earlier, that the whole burst up with Trump was going to remove some of the pressure and the tempo from the Starlink push. And we know now why Starlink wants South Africa. They want it for those ground centers, and I've spoken about that in the previous video. So what we can see effectively is that Donald Trump is giving Elon Musk the Jacob Zuma special. Zuma is the master of dealing with people, and stuff like that, reshuffling the cabinet. Trump is showing Elon flames. Elon doesn't even know what to do. In the morning, he was now saying, well, Trump has actually settled the issue of peace in the Middle East. The man is sweating bullets. You come with meandos, Trump comes with meandos, right? And speaking about Jacob Zuma, now we got to talk about the fiasco that is playing out in the MK party. Jacob Zuma can't be too happy with the developments that are playing out in his parliamentary caucus. These developments are making the MK in parliament look more preoccupied with power battles and factionalism than the work of parliament. And this particular period, these next few weeks, are a big period in parliament because the votes for the department budgets are happening. Evaluation and scrutiny is happening. The MK is the official opposition and should be sending out statements right now of their position, clips of their debate performances in the various debates that are happening. They should be speaking on how they'll be voting, giving their reviews on the various strategic documents which are pertaining to budget votes. Currently, Parliament is debating various appropriation bills. For example, there's a debate today on the Human Settlements Appropriation Bill, a debate on the Minerals and Petroleum Resources Bill, and the Public Service and Administration Appropriation Bill. There's ongoing business of Parliament. There's consideration of committee reports on budget votes, ministry strategic plans, and annual performance plans. All of this is happening as we speak. It's happening today, happening tomorrow, and will be happening for a large part of July. And in the same time, we're seeing this fiasco playing out within the parliamentary caucus of the MK party, and that's a problem. We've seen Rise Mzansi and their leader Songezo Zibi take on the issue of the road accident fund. We've seen Build One South Africa and their leader Musi Maimane issue a member bill calling for fair pay and opposing employment history discrimination. The party that should be at the forefront, using all of the tools of parliamentary participation is the MK party, because they have 52 seats. They have more numbers than anybody else, and they're supposed to be using that to make South Africa see that they're playing on the pitch and scoring goals. They need strikers in every committee. They need strikers in every speech that needs to be given. They need strikers writing every question that needs to be sent. We should be seeing ministers' questions coming from them being reported more than any other party. We should be seeing more members' bills coming from them. We should be seeing more committee involvement coming from the MK. We should be seeing cow horn formation. We should be seeing amabuto. We should be seeing gwazing happening at a high level, that Shaka Zulu would be impressed, come back in another series of Ilembe and say, no man, that MK party is gwazing at a high level of gwaz. The gwaz levels are at an all-time high. But that unfortunately is not what we are seeing as things stand right now. Instead, we're seeing these leaked letters from the party leader in parliament, one to the party spokesperson and contender for Secretary General of the party, Nhlanhla Ndlela, and another letter addressed to Jacob Zuma, the party leader. So let's look at the Nhlanhla Ndlela. It's just some highlights from that letter. The subject of that was the removal from the whippery team. Here's what the letter said from Dr. Mandla Hlophe. It said the following: I am writing to formally inform you, in my capacity as party leader and deputy president of the MK party, of the decision to remove you from the whippery team in parliament effective immediately. This decision has been made after thorough consultation and careful consideration of the operational challenges and conduct issues that have been brought to my attention as outlined below. As party leader, I'm entrusted with upholding the principles and values of the MK party, including Ubuntu, unity in action, honesty, and respect. Unfortunately, your actions have been found to be inconsistent with these principles and have hindered the progress and unity of the parliamentary whippery and communications team. Reasons for removal. Number 1, disrespectful communication. Repeated instances of rude, arrogant and dismissive communications towards parliamentary members, including senior leadership, have been noted. Such behavior undermines the dignity and collaborative spirit required within the whippery team. Number 2, obstruction of parliamentary communications. Your active obstruction of the communications team is in assisting parliamentary members with media engagements, press briefings, and publishing statements has caused delays and negatively impacted the party's image. Number 3, undermining unity and collaboration. Your actions have created divisions among parliamentary members and have been perceived as factional, counterproductive, and contrary to the party's principles of unity and collective actions. These actions contravene the MK party constitution and disciplinary code of conduct. So that was to Nhlanhla Ndlela. Then the other letter that leaked was one which was to President Zuma. Subject: urgent update on parliamentary challenges and leadership concerns. Dear President Zuma, I trust this correspondence finds you well. I'm writing to provide an urgent update on several critical matters transpiring within the parliamentary caucus of the MK party. These issues have significant implications for the unity, operational efficiency, and public image of our organization. Number 1, disruptive and divisive behavior by commanders Zuma, Sambundla, and Ndlela. On 25 June 2025, during a whippery meeting, commanders Duduzile Zuma and Nhlanhla Ndlela engaged in disruptive and divisive behavior that undermined the authority of the party leader and chief whip. Despite being formally informed of his removal from the whippery team on the 23rd of June 2025, Commander Ndlela attended the meeting and feigned ignorance of the decision. He proceeded to insult the chief whip, claiming she required political education and that her decision to remove him was invalid unless sanctioned by the top management structure. Commander Ndlela has consistently insulted the chief whip, in some instances labeling her as a political novice and newcomer to the political landscape. Commander Zuma Sambundla further exacerbated the situation by interrupting proceedings, creating unnecessary chaos, and disregarding repeated cautions to wait her turn. Her behavior forced me to intervene and chair the meeting. While I was speaking, Commander Zuma Sambundla interrupted me repeatedly, displaying unruly behavior that required reprimanding. She noisily rose from her seat, grabbed her belongings, and exclaimed, "Are we not done?" before sitting down when she realized no one followed her. That's some tea that he was adding there. The behavior of both members was despicable and does not reflect the ethos that the MK party seeks to portray to its constituents. Their actions contravene the principles of Ubuntu, unity in action and respect, as outlined in the MK party constitution and disciplinary code of conduct. And there's more, but we couldn't necessarily see the letter that was written to Tutu. Maybe that one wasn't leaked. So as things stand, here are my reflections on these letters and everything that has happened so far. Number one, these letters reinforce the criticisms of Mhlamulo and Tutu, which have been aired by their critics, including Floyd Shivambu. Number two, this was like really a week of own goals, although one of them is not really a direct own goal, but it was not a good week for the MK overall. The DA was having a bad week with the firing of their deputy minister, their 48-hour failed ultimatum. And to be quite honest, the Democratic Alliance probably happy that the media now has turned to the MK party and the shenanigans that are playing out here. Right? So the other thing that hurt the MK party that has made it have a bad media week is this issue of the arrests of MK members of parliament for the Transnet corruption allegations, right? So that in and of itself, that they didn't control. But this issue of drama within the caucus, that's something that really took away the news cycle and the attention cycle away from their opponents back to them in a way that is not flattering. Third thing I want to say is that the MK party needs to review its internal communications. Media leaks like this are a sign of lack of internal controls. And if they continue, they'll keep attention on the drama within the party and lead to loss of support and negative public perception. At a time when rivals are emerging, this Maibuya consultative process and others are emerging. So they need to look out for this. It's possible that this was sent to Floyd and then he's the one who leaked whatever was leaked. So we don't know. So the concerns being raised, though, by Dr. Mandlakayi Setlope are serious. Mhlamulo did an interview on Newsroom Africa suggesting that the letters were not authentic. And he was saying, well, Dr. Hlope told me that Sompisi, my signature has been abused. And in that, he was trying to suggest that, these are not authentic. I think if there's a question of fact of this nature, it's then important for the media houses to get a hold of Mandlakayi Setlope, Dr. Mandlakayi Setlope, and ask him directly, whose letter is this? Are these your letters? And to speak to insiders within the party and to verify whether or not these things played out in the meeting the way that they played out. I think that Mhlamulo is facing some opposition from people who don't want him to be the Secretary General, who view his behavior also to be objectionable, and maybe he needs to reflect on his leadership style as well. I don't know him. I can't corroborate whether or not some of these things are true. I have met him a few times, but not enough to be able to speak to his leadership style. But if I thought that he was not, a guy who is qualified or was behaving in the manner that they described, and I knew him well enough, I'd tell you, I'm like, that guy. But I don't know him like that. I just met him a few times at the Results Center last year. So I think media needed to do an unpacking and really get to the bottom of the source of the letters, because if they are fraudulent letters and they are part of spin or a political attack in and of itself, and they are part of disinformation, that's something that must be verified by the media, right? As the party, as the MK party, they need to understand that there's a reason why they say don't air your dirty linen in public. If your undergarments have holes, the public is not supposed to know that, because it will change how they look at you permanently. You're meant to manage your public image as a brand, sell momentum, sell your quazology, your quazism, sell your quaz rate per second, all of that. Not this particular stuff that people are shouting at each other, people are getting out of meetings and saying, are we done, etc., etc. All political parties have drama. But once your political party starts having drama leaking, then that's going to be something that you have to be careful about. Don't air your dirty linen in public, and you have the appropriate communications controls to deal with that. There's clearly tension in the party between those who consider themselves as the day ones, the so-called December 16 group, and there's those who can be considered to be part of the Church of Latter-day Gwazis. The later-day Gwazis, Colin Makubele would definitely be considered to fall in that camp. During the 2024 elections, she was leading Sarah, her party, a rival political formation. Prior to that, she was in COPE. But even at the Results Center, I was there when that press briefing happened. And, they collapsed into MK. And so she may not have been a day one, but she's an early investor in the startup of MK. And I think they need to give her a chance and they need to give her respect and understand that the party is not going to just feature people who were there on the 16th of December on day one. And if that factionalism is not dealt with, it will really undermine the progress of the organization, because this drama is not going to help them if they keep losing by-elections. They lost some by-elections in Mpumalanga, did very well in KZN earlier in the year, but they need to show that they have momentum and they need to show that they have professional stability. And Dr. Mandla Setlhophe is coming from, managing a court. He was the Western Cape judge president, managing complex operations. And I'm sure some of this stuff to him feels childish and tedious, which is why he's bringing it up. And obviously, Zuma is aware of all of this. Zuma is aware of some of these dynamics, and at some point will probably have to take action to preserve his political party and his image and his prestige. But I think some of this is because of the failure to meld the different entities, the December 16 group and the later day Gwazists. I don't know what they call themselves. I'm just saying they are later day Gwazists, right? But they need to look at that. People look at a variety of things at this particular moment in time between elections. They look at by-elections, they look at party headquarters, leadership, what they're doing, look at the social media, and they look at the pitch where the daily fixtures are being played. Parliament is the main pitch right now that has national attention, media attention, public attention. People are watching committee hearings, meetings. People are watching how things are playing out in the National Assembly, in plenaries, in the Council of Provinces. People are paying attention, and therefore you need your strikers to be scoring. And you can't have a team that's working well in an organized fashion for high impact if everyone is squabbling, if people can't even accept, structural changes like a new chief whip, etc. So this is not a great news story for the MK party. This is a self-guaz. I wonder what you guys think, but let's have a conversation in the comments.